Daily Broadside, day 599. Why do most salad dressings not have a spout that is the same as squirtable ketchup? It doesn't make any sense why we just unscrew a lid and then dump way too much dressing onto our salad, which we as Americans are conditioned to use way too much dressing to begin with. You know, you'll sit there and you're like, well, this is way too much dressing. And it's very deceiving because it doesn't look like it's that much dressing until you start mixing it into the salad and you're like, this is way too much dressing. But if you just had like the little squirt, the little tiny hole that you could just squirt in there just like ketchup, you could control the flow a lot better. Now me, myself, I am a Ken's Steakhouse fan, not only because it tastes great, but because from my understanding, it is one of the few name brand dressings that's not controlled by the large conglomerates, Kellogg, Nabisco, those kind of companies that are controlled by Black Rock and Vanguard and all, and they're owned by like the same like 4 companies own everything. Ken's is different. They're still out on their own. And I'm gonna tell you what, although I'm a blue cheese fan, that's my go-to dressing most of the time. Like 95% of the time, that's what I'm going with. I will say that their creamy Caesar roasted garlic is phenomenal. But it would help if they had just like a little lid on there with a little thing, whatever. And while we're at the subject of food, I was talking to a girl a couple nights ago, and she declared that chicken skin doesn't taste good, and I almost hung up. I literally almost hung up and then deleted her number from my phone, which I probably in hindsight should do when I pull over here in a minute. Just get her out of my life, because I can't have that kind of negativity flowing around me. Because if you don't like cook, now I'm not talking about raw, that would be disgusting and it would probably kill you at some point, but I'm talking about like, she don't eat drumsticks. She's like, oh, I peel the skin off, and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I wasn't driving when we were having this conversation. I'd have wrecked. I'd just completely just run off the side of the road into a tree or something. That's insanity talking is what that is. I can't get behind that kind of stuff. And another thing about grocery stores, if you walk around the grocery store and you eat grapes that you intend to buy, or even worse, you test the grapes and then don't buy them, just open the bag and start eating a grape. I saw a guy doing this one time, and apparently this is a lot more common than you would think. And I was like, that's disgusting. And then you got people that are upset with the idea that detergent isn't filled to the brim, which would make a complete mess if you tried pouring it, you morons. Then they take another one and they empty it into the other. Both of those are stealing. Those are both thefts, you morons. And y'all are the reason that we can't have a civilized society. If you don't like the fact that they don't give you enough product, then don't buy that product. You know what I do? I buy the, I don't even know what they're called. They're like really thin sheets of something. They're like biodegradable sheets, and you toss a couple of those in, and that's what I use. And they last forever, because like a box of them costs like $11, and you get like 100 washes out of it or something like that. So that's my give back to the community, the earth that we're trying to sustain, instead of dumping all those big Tide buckets into the damn landfill every 5 seconds, because that stuff's just completely wasteful. Everything I'm buying is biodegradable if I can help it. And ever since I watched the Iron Claw last weekend, all my TikTok has told me about is professional wrestling from 1983. And it's crazy. Some of it's kind of an interesting throwback and all, but another thing I forgot to mention about that movie that I didn't like, which I always like biopics where they introduce, you know, famous people. Like, for example, like Bruce Lee in, you know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or Nikola Tesla in The Prestige. That's a nice trailer. And I like that when they represent real life people, you know, and all. But I gotta say, the guy that played Ric Flair in that movie, that was not good. Like, from the neck down, he was a little tall maybe, but he looked like Ric Flair. Had the same pec design and all. Like, his body looked pretty good, but he didn't talk like him. He didn't look like him. The wig didn't look good. Like, none of that was any good. And I'm like, as many people as can do a woo kind of impersonation of the great Ric Flair, you couldn't find somebody else to nail that a little bit better? I didn't care for that much. I mean, they did the Fabulous Freebirds were really well done. I mean, they did. I don't think maybe they didn't talk, but they looked the part, you know. But not a fan of the Ric Flair part. But at any rate, everyone have a great Friday as it closes down today. The end of the stock market as we roll into the weekend. Hey, Kitty.